In 2025, some of the biggest fights weren't on any battlefield. They were happening in the shadows of the internet. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on the cybersecurity stories that even the reporters who cover this stuff called the most important of the year. So, let's dive in.
I mean, can you even imagine getting a text like that? This isn't some made-up scenario. No, this was a real headline from one of the absolute wildest cybersecurity stories of 2025. And believe me, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
So, we're not just scrolling through random news feeds here. These are the kinds of investigations that other journalists were frankly jealous of. The ones that dug up secrets people really didn't want found and showed us what's truly going on just beneath the surface of our digital lives. All right, first up, let's talk about something that feels almost impossible in this day and age: unmasking the hackers. We're talking about finding the actual human beings behind those anonymous keyboards and putting a face to all that digital chaos. Okay, so picture this. You're a journalist, and you spend months building trust with a senior Iranian hacker. I mean, someone deep inside their intelligence apparatus. We're talking about a reporter, Shane Harris, stepping into a world of shadows and spies. This wasn't just about scoring an interview. No, this was a super high-stakes dance in the world of state-sponsored cyber warfare. And what he uncovered? Well, it turned out to be even bigger than what the hacker himself was willing to admit. And then you've got the incredible power of just following the clues. The veteran reporter Brian Krebs, he's like a digital bloodhound. He followed this tiny trail of online breadcrumbs left by a notorious hacker, and it led him right to the guy's front door. But get this, it wasn't some evil genius in a secret lair. Nope. It was a teenager in Jordan, and his confession just goes to show you global cybercrime can pop up in the most random, unexpected places. So, the next story we're going to talk about deals with something called swatting. Now, you've probably heard the term, but we need to be crystal clear about what it means, because the reality is absolutely terrifying. This is not a prank, let's be real. It's a dangerous, life-threatening act that basically turns law enforcement into a weapon against innocent people. Okay, so keeping that definition in your head, think about the pure terror caused by just one person, an individual known as Tor Swats. A report from Wired did a deep dive on this, and what was so powerful is that they didn't just focus on the hacker. They focused on the human cost, the 911 operators taking these horrifying calls, the students who were completely traumatized, and the huge, massive police effort it took to stop just one person from throwing the entire country into a panic. So, okay. We've seen what individual hackers can do, and it's pretty scary. But what happens when the threat isn't some lone wolf in a dark room? What if it's a massive corporation, one that we actually give our information to willingly every single day? Just look at this number, 5 billion. That's not just a number, that's 5 billion of our flight records. We're talking about your travel plans, your name, your payment details, all being sold by the airline industry directly to federal agencies. And the kicker? No warrant. The sheer scale of this is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. So you have to ask, who was buying all this data? Well, incredible reporting from 404 Media laid it all out. They revealed a whole list of federal agencies. We're talking ICE, the State Department, even the IRS, using this backdoor to track people's movements. It was basically a massive surveillance system, hidden in plain sight. But here's the good news. This is where journalism really made a difference. After months of this reporting and the public pressure that came with it, the whole program was shut down. This was a huge win for privacy, and it just proves that this kind of reporting can actually take down these hidden, sketchy systems. And if you think that's wild, the story gets even crazier. A totally separate data leak from a surveillance company showed who they were tracking, and they were doing it by exploiting this well-known flaw in our global phone networks. Seriously, the list of people they were tracking reads like the cast of a spy movie. It's just proof that if someone has the right tools, pretty much nobody's location is safe. Okay, so individual hackers, that's one level. Corporate surveillance, that's another. But what happens when the biggest threat to your privacy, to your security, is the government itself? This right here, this timeline lays out an absolutely epic battle over our privacy. The UK government, behind closed doors, tried to force Apple to build a backdoor into its own security. The only reason we even know about it is because the Washington Post blew the whole thing wide open. And that exposure led to this huge standoff, where Apple actually turned off features in the UK, until finally, the government backed down. For now, anyway. All right, remember that insane headline from the very beginning? Well, here's how it happened.
It all started in what was supposed to be a secure signal chat. We're talking top officials discussing actual military strategy. And the Secretary of Defense himself types out this message, totally confident in their OPSC, their operational security. Yeah, about that. They were not. Not even a little bit. Because someone in that group had accidentally added a journalist. And for days, this reporter just sat there, silently, watching them discuss sensitive war plans in real time. People have called it maybe the biggest government security screw-up of all time. And it all came down to one little mistaken tap on a screen.
And you have to understand, the risks for the people on the inside who try to do the right thing, they're terrifyingly real. An NPR report told this story about a whistleblower, a federal worker trying to expose a huge government data collection program. And look what happened. They didn't get a threatening email. No, they found a letter taped to their front door. It had threats, sensitive personal info, and even overhead pictures of them walking their dog. I mean, talk about a chilling message. We are watching you. Stay quiet.
So after all of this, all these stories of hacks and leaks and government surveillance, what's the big takeaway? Why does this kind of reporting matter so much? Well, it's because it connects the digital world, all those ones and zeros, back to our actual physical lives.
I mean, look at this incredible piece from Wired. To really get a handle on the threat of 3D printed ghost guns, they didn't just write an article about it. No way. They went through the whole legal and ethical maze to actually build one themselves. They documented the whole process, showing step by step how a few digital files can become a real, deadly, and totally untraceable weapon. It takes an abstract threat and makes it terrifyingly real. And really, that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Think about it. Every single story we've talked about today, from huge government blunders to massive corporate surveillance schemes, we only know about them because a journalist brought them to light. So in this world of hidden data, secret deals, and digital backdoors, it really makes you think, if they weren't watching the watchers, who would?